First of all, let us all introduce ourselves. I am Les Volpe. I am a trial attorney here in Denver, Colorado, and my colleagues are...
Ms. Stansberry, Social Studies Specialist for the Denver Public Schools.
I'm Brandy Rayford, a senior at East High School.
I'm Gabe Pacheco. I go to Henry Middle School.
I'm Evan Garcia. I also attend Henry Middle School.
My name is Jennifer Schmidt, and I attend
Monica Johnson.
Matt Britson.
I know that you are prepared on 3 questions in this unit. The one that we have selected for you to respond to this morning is as follows. John Locke was an English philosopher who thought about why it was necessary to have a government. What did Locke think would happen without government? What did Locke believe would be the purpose of government? Do you think government might have purposes that Locke did not mention? Explain your answer. Timer, are you ready? You may begin.
First of all, we would like to thank you for participating in the mock Congressional hearing for the people competition.
What is government? Thomas Hobbes once said in 1651 that without government there would be no acts, no letters, no society, and which is worst of all, the continual fear and dangers of a violent death, and the life of man solitary, nasty, brutish, and short. According to John Locke, it's the government's responsibility to protect us from this type of life. John Locke also thought that it was the government's responsibility to protect our natural rights, life, liberty, and property. The government is the organization through which political authority is exercised in a society. Our founding fathers learned about the government by reading books about different governments written by political philosophers.
What did John Locke think would happen without government? John Locke once stated, whenever law ends, tyranny begins. This means that if we did not have a government protecting our natural rights, then someone would take over and make up any laws that they wanted to. He also felt that without the government, then stronger and smarter people would try to take away less fortunate people's rights. And also, the teachers might have too high of standards, so many students would fail. And like back in when there were kings and queens, the king would tax the people so they would not be able to pay for their own food and property and shelter. And if we didn't have a government protecting our rights, then we would be living in a state of nature. A state of nature is where you live without any laws. An example of state of nature is the movie Shiver, Gobble, and Snore. At the beginning of the movie, they really liked not having any laws. In the middle of the movie, it was complete chaos. And at the very end, they finally decided to make laws because all of them agreed that it was easier and better for them living with laws.
What did John Locke believe to be the purpose of government? What do you think the purpose of government is? Well, John Locke thought that there was one main purpose of government, and that was to protect the people's natural rights. The natural rights are life, liberty, and property. John Locke was a famous English philosopher. He wrote a book called 2 Treatises of Civil Government. In the book, he wrote about natural rights. He also said that kings should not have absolute power. Absolute power is power without limits. Many Americans agreed with Locke's book because they wanted the government to protect their natural rights.
Do you think the government might have purposes that Locke did not mention? No, I do not think that the government does things that Locke did not mention. Everything that the government does falls under life, liberty, and property. For example, the government has a police force and soldiers to protect us. That falls under life. Another example is that the government can protect or take away our house. That falls under property. The government gives the people the right to choose their own religion. That falls under liberty. They took the natural rights by adding the Bill of Rights.
All right, thank you. In your understanding of John Locke, can you tell me where government gets its right to government according to the natural rights philosophers?
The government gets its right to govern from the citizens. The citizens will vote for the representatives, and then the representatives will vote for the government, and they take that by the government, which will protect their natural rights and do what they need.
Matt, can you give me another example of something that will fall under liberty under the natural rights?
If somebody were to express their rights of religion, like they were saying that they believed in this or that, then people don't have to believe what that person believes. They can think what they want, because that is your natural right to understand what you want about your religion, or if you don't want to choose a religion or follow any type of God, then that's your right.
Thank you.
Okay. Do you feel we still have to work to protect our natural rights today?
Yeah, I think that we do. Like, because police and armed forces still have to have a warrant for any arrests or seizures or entering someone's house. Like, just recently when the police went to the wrong house and a man got shot and died. And we have to still work to protect that we have our own property, and that's a natural right that we have, and we should be protected.
If government derives its powers from the consent of the governed, and yet you as participants in this society have no right to vote, does the government have your consent to govern?
Could you restate the question?
Yes. Government derives its powers from the consent of the governed, but you, as individuals in this society, have no right to vote. Is that all right with you? Is it appropriate that that is the case?
I don't think that that's right, because like we at our age now have an understanding of what's going on in the government, and I think that we should get our say, and just because we're underage or whatever doesn't mean that we don't know what's going on and that we don't have a say. Maybe if everyone at our age knew what was going on and had a say, we might be able to do something to change it.
Can you think of any ways that you actually have a right to have your say without having the power to vote?
Well, maybe we could, like, if we, as a group or something, we put in what our group thinks, and then that went further, and then maybe they would take that as all these kids or think that this should happen, and then maybe they'll do something about that.
Can you think of any instances today where a state of nature might still exist?
Like maybe in gangs, if a leader of a gang has most of the power, then all the other lower people in the gang don't have any power, so that like the leader, as like a state of nature, the leader can do whatever they want. And then so the other people don't have any rights. It's just all what the leader wants them to do.
Can you think of some natural rights today that people go to court to protect?
Yes. People go to court to protect their natural rights. For example, abortion. Women go to court to protect their natural right to do what they want with their body. On the other hand, people go to court to protect the baby's life to live.
Any other examples? What if you were told that you could not express your opinion on a particular subject? What would you do?
I would explain that I have my right to freedom of speech, and that they can't take that away from me, because it's one of our First Amendment right, and it's probably one of people's most known rights, because they understand that they can say anything they want as long as it doesn't hurt other people in any type of way.
All right, we've run out of time. Thank you very much. I thought that that was a very, very interesting presentation. I like the amount of detail that you were able to get into your responses, detail that I've not heard before, such as the example of the movie involving the goblin. I particularly enjoyed the exchange in the question and answer session when you were able to say what you thought over and above your prepared materials. And I felt like you demonstrated a good understanding and that you really had some feelings about what you were saying. So all in all, a very good job.
And I liked the way you gave examples for each of those items that you were talking about. That truly showed that you understood what you were doing. And I liked the way you worked as a group, as a team. It was great.
Starting with Evan, I
liked how you used how you told how founding fathers read the books of philosophers to help them build their government. And I liked, Marika, how you said that Locke, you explained absolute power, and you also explained how Locke didn't think kings should have absolute power. And with Jen, I loved how you used evidence that was local and recent. I thought that was really good. And with Matt, I like how you used life, liberty, and property and gave examples for each one. And overall, it was a good presentation. And it showed that you guys did a lot of research.